is Dan Contreras from Oxnard, and I welcome you to the Dr. Dan Show. That's my nickname, Dr. Dan. I'm here to basically promote, advocate for the city of Oxnard, particularly our downtown area. I'm here at Frida's Treasures next to the kitchen. That's on A Street. And the kitchen is a great restaurant, and this is a great place to buy things that are treasures, actually treasures. So anyway, my main emphasis is to give a positive perspective, overview of Oxnard. My history goes back to my mom here in Oxnard. My mom was born in Colonia, 1924, which is quite a while back, but she was born here. And from there, the roots of Oxnard really grew, because her dad, my grandpa, came here in 1918 during the Mexican Revolution. And they came on a mule. Grandma was on a mule with Nino Ben, and boom, they came across. But that was back in 1918. And then subsequently, my mom was born here, and then they lived in Oxnard. But Colonia wasn't Colonia then also, as far as history goes. They lived on 7th and Meta Street, and my grandpa, her dad, worked the railroads, which was very historical with the Chicanos, Mexicanos that lived here early on. He worked on the railroad, and originally he worked in Taft, and then he got transferred here in the 30s to Oxnard, and then that's when my mom and her family moved into what they call sections, kind of like today's Section 8, I believe. It's kind of very similar. And they stayed there for a while, and then they didn't move to real Colonia until the late 30s. And then I'm born 10 years later, 1949, on Cooper Road. That's the hangout. That was my hangout. And from there, just a more historical thing, family history, but at 4 years old, we moved out. And we were the first families from Oxnard, Colonia, that moved out to the south side, near Woolley Road, Hill Street. And my dad particularly represented, and my uncles too, my mom's brothers, represented the Mexican Americans that had finally got better jobs and are able to move into nicer housing in the south side. And then from there, it just kept on going. For myself, the influences as far as how I view life here in Oxnard and how I view life in general is based on my father, who was, what I would call him, a closet intellectual. He was a great writer in his own right. And that's where I get my writing. I'm a writer also, and I get my writing skills from him. And then my mom was the worker, deluxe, ultimate worker. Always worked. Always. She knew how to manage money without education, which was really great. I believe she had 8th grade education. That was it. But very intuitive as far as money management and providing for herself after my parents' divorce, of course. But even then, she was always sharp. For me, the influences stemmed, like I said, from my dad and my mom both. My dad being the intellectual and more type, my mom being the economics, which really deals with a lot with what I'm presenting here, which is our what do I call it? Our basis for the economy in Oxnard is our stores here, including Frida's Treasures and other stores along the street, particularly, and B Street and all downtown Oxnard. And the thing that's really fought against, I think, being more successful here in Oxnard, business-wise, has been the negative image that Oxnard has had for years, as long as I've known. Oxnard has always been the bad town. Ventura's the good town, Oxnard's the bad town. Not necessarily true. But we have more people, and so when you have more people, you usually have more problems. But on the negative side, Oxnard does have a long history for some illegal activities, which, even back in the 40s, we were referred to as Little Chicago because the gangsters from LA when they wanted to get away from the LA cops, would come here to Oxnard and do their thing. But we've always had to fight a bad image, but I believe it's almost like parallel existence, where the good side of Oxnard, actually the more dominant side. Oxnard has always been a vibrant town, lively, produced many good people. For example, the Herrera brothers out of Oxnard, and Andres Herrera, Fermin. There's a bunch of brothers. They're successful, and they're from here. They're PhDs and all that stuff. Fermin is, I mean. My brother Raul, he's a PhD. He lives in Chicago now, but he was raised here in Oxnard. And we have a lot of involved, conscientious, politically involved people that really have the right feeling as to trying to construct a more positive feeling for Oxnard. And it's an ongoing battle. I myself have taken it upon myself to fight that image, because any chance that comes up to defend Oxnard, I will. That's just ipso facto. I'm born and raised Oxnard. I'll never deny I was born in Colonia or that my roots are there. No, it's all good. You make the best of it. And at age 65, I'm an old cat, but I got a young heart, and the battle doesn't end until you stop breathing. So that's my perspective. That's my mode of action. I'm involved in many things in the community. I've been involved in the community since, what year? 1970. Wow, at least. I was a writer then, a little Mickey Mouse writer. I would write things in the newspaper on social issues. And then later on, I went to Cal State Northridge, and I got pretty political there. And met different people. But the main thing that was amazing was that one of the main characters that attended Cal State Northridge were from Oxnard. Were Oxnard guys. Myself, Fermin, a few others. And we carried the load. And I ended up being the Mecha vice president and the editor of the newspaper there for the Chicano newspaper called El Popo. So from there, that gave me a basis for more political things and positive social interactions. And I got my degree in journalism. And then from there, I didn't use it to be a journalist, but I ended up working in corrections, which I did for 25 years. And then in community also, as a volunteer, I also worked very much in community groups. Back in '75, they call it La Colonia's Youth Services Project. And that was there in the heart of Colonia, and I got involved as a committee member, for the governing body and all that stuff. But later on, there was other things that happened more, what do you call it, indigenous stuff. I mean, just ingrained, we had the Oxnard High School walkout committee, and I was part of that. That was back in '78. Had myself, Beto Flores, some other people, key people. And then later on, we ended up doing what they call Bodies Unidos, dealt with the anti-gang stuff, right? Which has been, unfortunately, a big problem with Oxnard, the gang stuff. Too much sometimes. But it can be controlled. And from that's back in the early 80s when I was involved directly. Now it's not 19 anymore. In the year 2014, I got involved in a group called Voices. It's out of Colonia, and it's a community-based group dealing with the shootings that took place lately in the Colonia area. Shootings and killings, right? And also we're dealing with the gang violence to an extent. So that's probably one of my main activities right now too, getting involved in that. And the same token, I am writing things that help people get a better point of view as far as how to get involved and what perspective to take, how to be productive in community-based groups. It's a journey. It's a journey. But me being a veteran, so to speak, at 65, been involved for the last, like I said, 40 years. I'm kind of like a teacher type, I guess. And there's young people that are really good, they're learning, and there's, we talk about the lost generation, but there's still a lot of good kids in this generation that are helping out, that are participating. For me, that's very encouraging, and not to be negative about anything. It's particularly in the area of community organizing stuff and community activity, positive community activity. Let me think. Besides that is my music, which is kind of political too. I'm a musician, songwriter, singer, and all that stuff. And my music too is community related. In fact, one of my best song that I wrote it way back, 1979. It's called Mijo, or Babyface, and it's the ballad of the homeboy. It's a corrido in English, because it's the story of the homeboy. And it's a song where the kid's young and he ends up dying, and there's a lot of messages involved in that. So I am in the midst of trying to get that recorded professionally. I have connections now that I didn't have even 5 years ago, so in the music world. So that's another realm. But whether it's music, culture, politics, it's all tied into to be productive, it's tied to our image, to our, what people think of you. Oh, you're from Oxnard. Ugh, you get the feeling. We got to fight that. And, oh, you're from Colonia. Negative. No, it's not negative whatsoever. What is negative is dishonesty. And you could be up and you're no good because you're dishonest. You could be a political person and be no good. So there's many areas that we have to improve ourselves, and I believe progress is made when we make a commitment, and that's the main thing. We have to make a commitment. Whether it's a business like Lupe, the store owner of Frida's Treasures, she made a commitment and it's being successful. I'm making a commitment in the political world, and for the most part it's being successful in teaching others. We have to, what would be the right word, use less of our ego and more of our character. That's the key thing, more of our character. Ego is the main problem. People get, no. If you're good, people let you know. You don't have to brag about it. You don't have to manipulate. You don't have to be an opportunist. Just do the work that needs to be done, and that's the key. And that's where my brother Raul, I got a lot of help from him because he's very political, and I've learned a lot of things. But then in the end run, I taught him a lot of ethics and personal ethics within the political scene. And it will go on. It will go on. What else do I want to speak? Other than we all have to have a dream, just like Dr. Martin Luther King said. We have to have hope. We have to have determination to get where we need to get. The business people of A Street need to get even more determined to make sure it keeps rising and be more positive. The social group, or the political social community groups like Voices, we got to keep. I have a meeting today, in fact, and we're going to be talking about issues that we have to keep at it. It's ongoing. And just a sidelight, there's an event for the celebration of Cesar Chavez. I think it's going to be, what's the date? March 28th, 29th, 30th. There's a film that was made, a documentary, which is supposed to be really great. And there's going to be a march on the Sunday the 30th, but there's going to be the movie shown on the 28th, 29th, and 30th, here locally, it's right there on 5th Street. And that's something to really get involved in. My own history with Cesar Chavez, I never talked to him, but I met him when I was at Cal State Northridge, and I was a writer. And as a writer, I participated in a march that was supporting him because he was not going to get paid the same amount as some other professional speaker because he was going to speak at Cal State Northridge. So we protested, and I wrote my story as I protested, as I ran around, and I got all sorts of weird comments, some not so kind, but nevertheless, I wrote it from firsthand experience. And my journalism teacher, he understood, because the other students thought, oh, that's subjective. We're all subjective. And they said, it's not objective, but my teacher, he's the one that understood, and he thought it was great. But the students, my so-called peers, they They didn't really approve of it. They thought it was what's the word? Bias. No. Anyway, my history with it was that when I wrote that story afterwards, I actually saw him in person, and it was like really almost shocking, but like I'm a short guy myself. The man was 5'3", and this guy is a genius. He was the man. I said, oh my God, all this energy out of this little guy, but hey, size does not matter, not really. It's your heart, and he had so much strong heart, and he was determined, but I'm grateful that I was able at least to see him in person. I was almost right next to him, but different people were speaking to him, but a great experience. And so once again, it goes back to in March, we're going to have the celebration. I'm part of that committee too. It's the Cesar Chavez March Rally Committee, I guess you can call it that, right? So we have to find our niche. We have to find our niche, because not everyone can speak, not everyone can write good things, but if whatever your skill is, use it. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to develop it. I tend to be the right word to say, a motivator. I tend to get people encouraged to do what they can do. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be the best around, but do according to what your skills are. Don't procrastinate. Don't let things go. Don't let the moment slip by, because that's what we're all guilty of. That we let the moment slip by, and I wish I'd done this. I wish I'd done it. So the time is now, and for me, once again, going back to me being an old man of 65, I still got 20 years in me, one way or another. Active and positive, if not 30. So if I can do it, pretty much anyone can do it, because I'm not a PhD guy. I don't have no degree. I have a bachelor's, a BA degree. That's it. And I was a C student, but I'm a determined guy, and that's how I got where I got. And thing is, once again, find your niche and stick with it. Don't let go. Don't let go. That famous movie, Seize the Moment. What was that movie? I can't remember. It was a great actor too. Williams, I believe. Seize the moment. I think it applies to all of us, because if we don't, it's not there the next day. Oh my God, it's too late. It's too late, Danny. Duh. So we have to be, what's that word they use? We have to be proactive. There it is, proactive. Not reactive, proactive to things. And don't be, oh my God, what do I do now? No. Be prepared before you present. That's kind of my phrase. It's preparation before presentation. Because if your ducks are not in line, or what's that saying about the ducks in line, or whatever it is, if they're not, you're going to be caught. People are going to laugh at you because you're not prepared. So you have to study. You have to do different things. You have to discipline yourself to get to that point. And I don't know. I'm just glad I'm getting this time to speak to the general public. And this show, hopefully, I am going to plan to get different people I know that are really active in the community, and that will give you a different perspective on things, whether it's with art, whether it's the politics, whether it's the gang situation. I have different friends from even the homeless. One of my best friends now, a guy named Michael. He hangs out there on, what's that place? The store, Ralph's Market. He's a little guy, but you know what? He's my friend now, because to me, he's my equal. His appearance is not too welcoming, but you know what? You speak to the man, and he has a brain. He's fairly smart, but he's only 42, but he's paying the price for a bad life, so to speak. But he's not giving up, and I'm not going to give up on him either. I help him out as much as I can, and he calls me Dr. Dan. I say, all right, because I've helped him out. He says, hey, Dr. Dan, okay. Hey, Michael. And so whether it's a homeless person or whatever condition that person may be, they all have something to help you. If nothing else, Michael's going to inspire me to value the good that I've had in my life, that I had good parents and a good upbringing and never had addiction problems and all that stuff. Whereas with Michael, different circumstances, but you know what, he's still a human being and he still needs help, he still needs care, but and I, for one, will be there to help him when possible. I believe, hopefully this will be the start of future shows where we can really get it going better. And I will not feel as nervous because it's a one-man show here today, but nevertheless, it will get done. It will get done, and I will hopefully become more professional and more to topic, to the point, to what we need to discuss and to get out there in the community. And I hope you like what you heard so far, and that you'll take a bite and okay, he's got a point there, or you need to. And I don't mind if you can send a criticism, send a criticism. I'm open to that, because that's part of being political. You have to be open to criticism, positive criticism. And that's what we're going to do in this show. We're going to express feelings from different viewpoints, and hopefully it's going to get good. All good, as the saying goes. It's all good, because it is really all good. Thank you. Thank you for watching the show.